Welcome back, vinyl community. Once again, got a quick outdoor video for you, taking advantage of the good weather while it lasts. I've had a recent run of luck at the thrift stores and cheap bins of record shops, so I thought I would share those with you quickly. First off, I'm going to start off with kind of cheap bins. One of my local stores that I check, they always have these bins of discount records, anywhere from $1 to $3, which is basically thrift store prices or less. And sometimes they have some interesting stuff in there. So the other day I picked up She Coltrane, Let It Ride, 1973, Columbia, very nice shape here. Female rocker. First song, Hallelujah's kind of a big, fast-paced rocker. Title track, Let It Ride's more kind of power ballady-ish, I guess you would say. Queen Ida and the Bon Temp Zydeco Band on tour featuring Al Rapone. As you might expect, some Cajun Zydeco music. I've seen Queen Ida records around before, never really checked it out. I don't have much Zydeco music in my collection, GNP Crescendo label. This is 1982. I have a Rhino CD compilation of Zydeco music, so I kind of knew what it would sound like. But this is a live set, and just nice stuff. She plays accordion and does most of the vocals. Flora Purim, great Brazilian kind of jazzy vocalist. Open Your Eyes, You Can Fly. This is got quite a few members associated with the Return to Forever jazz fusion group. You got George Duke on here, Alfonso Johnson, and Hermeto Pascoal, Airto Moreira. So it's got a very jazzy but Brazilian samba MPV flavor to it. Found this one, Martha Velez, Matinee Weepers on Sire Records. Very nice shape again. This is from 1973, if I'm not mistaken. Her next album after this I do have, and it was produced by Bob Marley. I think the only artist other than himself that he ever produced. But that's a reggae album. This one is more, from what I've heard, is more blues rock. Sounds very nice from what I've quickly sampled. Haven't listened to the full thing yet. Michael Raybon and the Five Americans. I had one other LP by them that I found in a thrift store, so I grabbed this when I saw it. This is on the Apnac label out of Texas. They were kind of a, I guess you would say, kind of pop rock. Looks like they kind of went psychedelic for this one. This is actually a double LP, 1968 or 1969-ish. I think this was kind of their final LP. It's called Now and Then. And looking forward to listening to that one. With titles like Pink Lemonade, 730 Guided Tour. I think you're in for a bit of psych here. Very nice shape except for the coverware. Happy to pick that up for $3. South Side Story compilation, still in shrink, volume 19. I think this is a very recent release from what I looked up on Discogs, 2016, 2017 maybe. Of course, a famous compilation of kind of lowrider tunes. I haven't checked out any of these volumes before, but to get this for $2 or $3 or whatever it was, sounds very nice from what I've quickly sampled. Tom Scott and the LA Express, kind of iconic cover of the time. Jazz Fusion, I have a couple others by them. Now getting into the thrift finds. First off, Julie London, Our Fair Lady, 1965 on this one I think, Liberty label. Someone I'd never even heard about before the vinyl community, and then she seems to be one of those artists that kind of has her cult of fans in the VC. So I've kind of seen her records around since then and been curious to check them out. Very smoky, sultry kind of pop vocals, pop standards I guess you'd say. Nice stuff on there. Still in shrink on that one. I went into the city to a thrift store I never, or not never, but don't get to very frequently. It was kind of one of those unfortunate situations where you walk in and the first thing you see when you get to the vinyl section is the guy standing there with a stack of vinyl this high, that he's going through and checking for condition, and there's actually another guy waiting in the wings to check after him. So that was unfortunate, and the first thing on the top of his stack was a nice, excellent condition looking copy of Diamond Dogs by David Bowie. So, you know, you're kind of hooped at that point. But I went and looked in a couple other sections, and I found some more nice things that for some reason that guy left behind or passed over or wasn't interested in for whatever reason. I found this one. Cover's pretty beat up. The vinyl's in very nice shape on this. This was a blind buy. Steele River. They were 1971 on this, I believe, on the Tuesday label. Very nice Canadian band out of Toronto. Kind of meat and potato bluesy rock and roll. This was their second of their 2 albums. Before they broke up in 1974 and I think got back together in the 1980s. This is one, I sort of knew the name, had never really heard anything of it. King Biscuit Boy, 1974, on Epic label. What sold me when I looked at the back cover here was arranged and produced by Alan Toussaint with members of the Meters on musical backing. So you got Arthur Neville, Ziggy Modaliste, so you know it's going to be funky. This is kind of bluesy, funky rock and roll. Kind of reminds me of Boz Scaggs, Delaney and Bonnie, that kind of thing. Very nice album. Unfortunately, when I put it on the turntable, I noticed it's pretty heavily warped, which escaped me at the time I found it in the thrift store, but it ended up playing very well. No problem. 10 Years After, Cricklewood Green. Kind of the usual cover wear. Kind of cool gatefold pressing there. But vinyl, very nice shape. Durham, of course. I sort of thought I had this one by them already. I do have several, but turned out I did not. Great blues rock album. The Records, some UK power pop. This is from 1980 on the, includes an insert. Haven't listened to this one yet. I do have another LP by The Records, and that is on Virgin from 1980. I think it might be their debut, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe their second one. Charlie Daniels Band, Night Rider, from 1975, on Kama Sutra. This is one I thought I was missing. I do have a few by them, but it turned out I do have it, so that's an extra copy. Nice gatefold there if you can see it. And early Charlie Daniels Band is much more southern rock than the more straight-ahead country they later became. And when I saw this one, I grabbed it up straight away. I was surprised the guy left this behind. The Whackers. Cover's a little beat up, but the vinyl's in good shape. Gatefold. That is on Elektra Butterfly label. See that? Don't know too much about the Whackers. Haven't given this a spin yet, but anything on Elektra in the thrift store is usually a pretty good bet. Todd Rundgren's Utopia. That was there as well. Not listened to much Utopia. Heard a couple of Todd Rundgren solo albums and some of his productions. Now this one I was very happy to come across. Harmonium. This is their debut from 1974 on the Celebration label. I have a couple others by them. They are a Quebec progressive rock group. As the name implies, very melodic, kind of acoustic vibes. But I enjoy them very much, so I was very happy to find their debut. In very nice shape. You see them around my area. They usually go for a few bucks in record stores, but I've found all the ones I have now in thrift stores. I think I have their first 3, and there's only one more after that. Another Quebec one, Boh Dommage. I've seen this around before as well. I believe this is some kind of progressive rock, kind of acoustic. Haven't given this one a spin yet. Looking forward to checking that out. I'm not really a progressive rock guy as on the whole, but the Quebec ones I've heard I enjoy quite a bit. Lynyrd Skynyrd, one more from the road. That was there. Again, surprised the guy passed this one over. Very nice shape on that one. So that was from that store. The very next day I went to a different store closer to home and I found a few things there too. First up, the Everly Brothers. This is one of their very first albums. Got Bye Bye Love on there. Wake Up Little Susie. It's definitely seen some plays, but looks like it should be in pretty decent condition on the Cadence label, 1958. I don't think I've ever even seen this one in the wild before. So to find it in decent shape in the thrift store, why not? Poppy seeds, always pick them up when I see them in thrift stores. This is their second album, London label. I do have this one already, but I'm not leaving it behind in good shape. And this moves away from the psych, light pop, light psych of their first album and gets into a bit more country rock. The band was basically pared down to Susan and Terry Jacks by this point. This is another VC favorite, Gerry Rafferty, City to City. I've never really heard of this guy before I started seeing him mentioned in the VC. I know Bill Helmet Diggy is a big booster. That song Baker Street was one I grew up listening to on the radio. Never really knew who it was by until comparatively recently in the vinyl community. And I've had chances to pick this up before, kind of hemmed and hawed and passed it by. This time I picked it up, and it's in very nice shape, and it's actually a Dutch pressing, United Artists. That was kind of interesting. And one more, or two more, Bob James 1. Bob James in the thrift store. This one I have already. No way am I leaving it behind. CTI label, very good shape. And last up, classic Philly album, MFSB, Mother, Father, Sister, Brother, Love is the Message. It's classic Philadelphia, very nice shape on here. One I do have, but I could not pass that up. So that has been my run of thrift finds over basically a weekend, a few days over the weekend. Hope you enjoyed, guys. Cheers and take care.